Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning. This is Matt.
This is Jesse.
And I'll go ahead and give you our normal podcast notes. You can find us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at ITLBcast, the subreddit at ITLBcast. And if you're really feeling feisty, you can support us on Patreon also at It Tastes Like Burning. Jesse, what do we have today?
Well, I'm going to just throw this in there too. If you're whatever player you're listening on, do a review, rate us. All that stuff helps get the podcast out to more people. If you're on the Twitter or any of those things, repost those links that we throw up there for the episodes and help us grow this thing a little bit more.
Right, because it ultimately the final intent of this is just to help with the reach out for the volunteer side, and maybe not this podcast, maybe this one, but we've had some questions fired at us, and we'll kind of cuss and discuss those at some point. Today, we found 2 unlucky victims, and they're going to join us. We have Kim and Aaron, and they've recently joined our department. Kim and Aaron, go ahead and say hello.
Hi, everybody. It's Kim.
Hello, this is Aaron.
How long have you been on the department, Aaron?
2 months.
Okay.
Yep.
I know you've had a fire and EMS background.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been on another volunteer department? I want to say yes. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's been a couple years on Morgan Township Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay. Generally, what do you think of our organization? And then lastly, where do we need to improve?
What do I think of the organization? I think from a first impression perspective, I was actually blown away. I've been around in one way or another for a number of years, and to me, the department has kind of a look and feel of a full-time paid department. I was impressed by the facility, the equipment. Compared to where I had volunteered previously, it's light years ahead. So, maybe part of that has to do with the fact that the previous department that I volunteered on, was in a mostly rural area. Our station back then had 3 bays. One station with 3 bays. So, an engine, a quint, and a brush truck. So, it's a lot different here, right? A lot more equipment, bigger area, larger call volume. As far as where I think, what could be improved? Wow. I think probably a couple quick things. One would be and this goes back to what we were talking about with the human element, all of the personalities. For me, I feel like if there was a little bit more of a concerted effort for folks to be inclusive or to be kind of right, and I don't want to. I'm new, right? I don't want to go and step on my.
No, you're not. Don't worry about that.
I think I see a lot of folks that have known each other for a long time. There's a lot of personalities. There's some cliques, right? There's some friend groups, and that kind of thing is hard to kind of break into. For me, having been where I've been, if I show up at a new department or a new company or whatever, and I walk into a place and I'm the new guy and everybody in the room ignores me, I am old enough and experienced enough to know, you know what, that's not personal. That's just the way stuff is sometimes. And what do? I just go and I force myself on people. Like, hey, what's up? What's your name? Yeah, I don't care that you're not addressing me, right? So I can kind of navigate that environment. I think for me being new, my only concern is people that don't have that level of experience or don't have that level of self-confidence and know what's going on, right? I think somebody could walk in, you take a 25-year-old or a 35-year-old volunteer that maybe doesn't have any military or public safety experience, and you drop them into that environment. I think the expectation is, hey, how's it going? Are you the new guy? Is your name Aaron? Yeah. Okay. Hey, come on over here. Let's have a chat. Let's take a tour of some equipment, right? A little bit more friendly and welcoming, right? I've had to kind of, and this is probably very common. I've seen it multiple places. I've had kind of, I think, push a little bit into that. The other only, for me, I think my only other suggestion is, and this would have been kind of cool, and it's still a possibility we can talk about, is I would have probably preferred, at some point, somebody to go, hey, here's a PDF document with everything you need to know as a new person here. Here's who all the people are. Here's our SOPs. Here's our equipment. This is what's on the equipment. This is here's your training plan. Here's this, and have for me, especially coming from a place of having experience before, I would have been, or I would be happy to kind of sit down and be like, okay, look, here's my life story. Here's all the stuff I've done. Here's all my past training. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. And then go, all right, what is the fastest route to being a fully productive member of this team? Because for me, that, I'm impatient. If
you don't say.
Yeah, I am. I'm impatient. If I could have started and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, gotten my B exempt and gotten trained on pump operations and been okay. Yep, you're still probie here, but you're clear to drive this apparatus in support of the department, I'd have been all about it. And so I think for me, I'm kind of sitting back passively and letting the membership or the department kind of push me along or pull me along in that process, partly out of fear of overstepping, right? You can get that kind of like, oh, who the hell is this guy? He's a know-it-all, or he's this, or right. You want to. There's a delicate balance there where you're kind of like, you don't want to overplay a hand. You don't want to be overly confident. There's a little dance there. So you want to be brought into the fray, into the group, into the social circle organically.
Right. You don't want to Kung Fu Panda roll in there and start.
And the reality is that has a lot to do with that 6-month probation period and all that stuff, because it does force slow playing some of that stuff, right? And part of that is for the benefit of the existing members more than it is for the benefit of the new members sometimes, because that is their circle and it's their house. And I'm not justifying any of it. I'm just explaining my take on some of it, because you take a guy and I'm a prime example. I was a 20-year veteran. I was a former chief. I've done all that stuff, and I come in and I'm trying to not be the biggest jerk I could possibly be, because even the things that I saw that were wrong, until it got to something that was truly a safety issue, and then I got real vocal about a few things, but I tried to keep my mouth shut and my head down and just do what I was supposed to do, knowing that it's all going to work out in the end. And I was in that same boat, because that type A personality and that, I've been in those leadership roles, and it was just, I'm waiting for open that door and I'll barge through it and I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of hard. It was real hard.
Can I add just a different perspective?
Oh, yes.
But in the same environment. So I've got two different factors. I don't have experience, and I am a female, but I'm experiencing the same situation as Erin, where brand new, and so I keep thinking of like the word onboarding. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to expect. So I think what would have been really beneficial to me is very much similar. Here's everything you need to know. And if you want to read for the next 2 weeks on your own, by all means, but setting that expectation over the next 6 months, in the next week, like I'm voted in this week, this is what you can expect. In the first month, this is what you can expect. Over the next 6 months, this is what we expect or what you can expect. But here, if you want to learn on your own, here's everything. It's boring. We don't care. But here, there are some people who are going to go through that entire word-by-word PDF,
me.
assuming it exists. And I might as well, because I don't know anything. So I just want to know. And I think when I was interviewed, my big thing was I just want to be an asset. I don't want to be a hindrance or a liability. But I don't know what that means to be an asset. So having that information, y'all might on your end know that over 6 months, we're going to get to all of this. But as a new person trying to crack into a new environment, a new family, a new culture, and having no information, it can be pretty daunting. And I don't think you want to persuade those people who have great intentions, but maybe not have that self-confidence to be able to sit in a room and just be like, I'll be here. Cool. If no one's going to talk to me, I'm still going to sit here because you voted me in. You must want me to be here. But, it takes a level of, self-confidence to do that. So that would be my big suggestion too, is just making that information available to those people who want or know how to learn that way best.
And I completely agree with that. Something I've advocated for a while, and it's excuses, but
in time.
It's time, and it's somebody willing to put the effort into that, and it's finding the right person for the right job to accomplish that. Because honestly, I'm one of those guys, like, if you're going to go accomplish that, go accomplish that. I don't care what it looks like. Mm-hmm. You figure it out. But there's so much tendency of membership of volunteer fire departments to go, oh no, I've got to get my hands in that, and I've got to, you're playing in my sandbox, and I've got to be a part of it, and it hinders some of that. It definitely does.
Yeah, well, before I even mention anything, what else? Do you have anything else as a new member that's good, and then anything that we need to work on?
Well, it's all been positive so far, but again, it's been very piecemeal, right? It's like it was very laid out very clearly. You get in what you put into it. You get out what you put into it. So go to the station, ask questions, introduce yourself. So great advice. On the flip side of that, I an idea I had would be to have an immediate mentor, or maybe it was your idea that I stole. It's a great idea, like for the new people, and it would be great for. Sometimes I think it'd be great to have a female with a female, and sometimes I think it'd be great to have a male with a female. Like, you don't get to just be a female. You don't get to play that role, or our females are not protected. We're people. But just having that mentor, that 30-day mentor, before you get the apps loaded and I don't know when the trainings are. What did I miss? I'm not hearing the calls. Who someone can text me or come to the station. I'm relying on him, but I live with him.
Yeah. What did that dispatcher say? What did she say? What does that mean? What does this?
Yeah, it's all the new stuff that I don't understand the jargon. I don't even know if I hear it clearly. I don't even know what they're saying because I don't know the verbiage.
Well, it falls into that you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
But then how do you know it? I think it's that. That's the big thing.
I always just tell people, if you've been doing this all your life and you were born knowing it, then you already know it. So that's good enough, right?
I think to go back to that document, or that what I was mentioning earlier is, the other aspect here is institutional knowledge, right? And with a department so mature, and with membership so diverse, and I mean, you mentioned you had somebody 40 years. There's also this kind of thought in the back of my head, like, how is that institutional knowledge saved, right? How is it captured? How is it, You know, if the average tenure is 7.5 years, you know, you've got this institutional knowledge that's kind of walking out the door and going home. You know, that might be, you know, there might be something there to have a discussion about, right? A living document, you know, like a wiki, you know, a wiki page or whatever, where people are contributing. You could see who's contributing. They can write their, you know, they've got their name or their initials on there that are highlighted, and somebody can be in charge of editing and QCing it, and right, it could be like a living document. You know, that might be something to kind of.
Now, I will argue that technically exists right now. That's our business meeting minutes. And they go back to 1909. Now, I realize that there's no, you know, golden bookcase that says, hey, this is the institutional minutes on there. For exactly what you're talking about. But while you were saying that, the one thing I was kind of cluing in on is the fact of the matter is that for our organization, I would literally say there of the active membership or even people that are on the department right now, there's 3 of us that know anything. And I could probably give the other 2 dinosaurs that do know anything about the history of the department an actual run for their money. That's something. And how do I have that? Well, that's just because of the quirkiness of me. I would go talk to these old members. I would go hunt down the old chiefs long before I was ever chief, but I would talk to them. And yeah, so just kind of, you know, just kind of the general story of the organization, the stupid stories, the embarrassing stories, the good, the bad. I'm probably the one person that's the gatekeeper on that. I probably have the most of that, particularly when you go back pre-1950.
So where's the book? You writing?
It's in our safe, is where it's at. The kicker is, and this is embarrassing to admit this, how well can you read old cursive?
I think I could still read it pretty good. I had to learn how to write it when I was
because
in Catholic school.
if you take it to like our new membership and they look at it and they're like, they can't read it.
Oh, that's my son. My 17-year-old cannot read cursive.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the minutes, you know, you read them and you're like, God, that guy had hellacious handwriting, whoever that was. And some of them's like, I have no clue what on earth this guy wrote. And of course, they were secretary for 15 years. So it's just whatever.
That's
Takes
awesome.
12 people to read it.
A bunch of that is something that there has been thought and effort, and you know, a lot of it has to do with expanding website and adding pages and doing stuff, and it just hasn't come to fruition. And
Yeah, at the end of the day, the easiest person to blame is me on that. And I have no problem admitting that's just a failure of mine. Particularly on like, you know, just, well, I'm going to call it the document dump. Just, you know, you get a key fob or you go to the website, new members, click here, start here. We've talked about it. We've just never done it. And I think a lot of this kind of boils down to my personality. When I first joined the organization, it took me almost 4 months of literally just kicking in the door and me finally going to the chief and being like, either figure it out and vote me on, or I'm going to go pound sand because I'm tired of waiting on you. And I finally got voted on. And I had no problem absolutely pissing off all of the old members. And it's a really, it sounds terrible when I say it this way, but it's the truth. It's a really narcissistic point of view to take to it. I have a high education level. I have a high life experience level, and I'm trying to get onto your organization. What the hell's wrong with you? Stop being stupid and vote me on, because I'm going to do a huge amount of work for you, whether you like it or not. And in the process of doing all that work, am I going to make people angry? Yeah. And frankly, I didn't care. I didn't care who I made mad. But again, that's a personality thing. Because again, if anyone truly got bent out of shape over that and they came at me on that, I'd just be like, well, this is why you're wrong. Or you need to explain to me why I'm wrong, not just because this is how we used to do it. That is the single worst way to tell anyone at how you want something done. Well, we don't do this, or we do this because this is how we do this. That is the most ignorant way to explain something on the face of the earth. I could care less about how you do it and why you do it without the explanation. So that translates into me now being chief, and it gets compounded by the fact that, again, I don't necessarily have an interest in stepping on toes with the membership. Where as a new member, I came in and I, like you did, Aaron, took that responsibility upon myself to go out, talk to people, interject myself. It's also my personality and disposition. I have no problem talking to a group of strangers. None at all. And it could be about anything. It could be about firefighting. It could be about airplanes. If you want, we can talk about Scrabble. I could care less. The joke I always make is I know very little about a lot. So diving into an organization has never been a problem for me. Fast forward, you take that mindset as chief and then combine that with, I have no interest in trying to piss off the membership. So it becomes this, for lack of better words, almost an overwhelming responsibility and burden that the new member doesn't know about. I'm expecting you to take care of yourself. And it's not a conscious thought. It's just, I did it. You should do it. It's not fair. It's not necessarily right either. But that's, at the end of the day, how I do look at it. And obviously we need to reevaluate that, at least by giving you the junior woodchuck steps to, hey, start here. Here's the SOPs, here's the SOGs, here's the constitution or articles, here's the bylaws. By the way, if you have questions, here's a list of the membership that you can call, segregated by station, and on and on. And at least that way, that gives you a place to sit there and be like, well, I have a question. Who the hell do I call? Or who do I ask?
Well, and I definitely think the membership need to be on board. You know, like, I would almost query everybody, hey, you know, who wants to be on the new member, you know, mentor?
Actually, I would argue that I would provide a list of saying, these are the people you don't go to. Don't go to these 4 people. Just go to everyone else, but not these 4.
At my old department, we did a mentor deal, and it actually worked out really good. Just that first night that they came in, we just, you know, oh, Scruffy here's your guy. He's going to call you. He's going to let you know when something's happening. He's going to check on you. He's going to do all these things, and he's your first round of questions. Ask that guy. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't know, then he'll tell you where to go ask the question to. And it was really successful to have that little mentor program, and we did it for 3 months.
And it was an abysmal failure.
No, it worked great.
Who did it?
The membership.
Here?
No.
I was like, no, it's been a disaster for us.
Yeah, no, it worked great where I came from. We generally assign, most of the mentors were officers, but it just depended on who was coming in and what. But
well, and you know, another thought is to have it twofold. It's great to have that knowledgeable resource, but it's also cool to have that rookie comrade. 2 new people together, so it's like, oh, did you hear? No, let's go. I think it could work both ways.
Yeah, and the key to it was that was the first person's phone number that they had, so that's the person they called every time. So it didn't matter if you didn't want to be the mentor or not. They got your phone number and they were going to ask you stuff. So,
well, there's a handful, half a dozen guys at the department currently that are probably like sick of seeing my name pop up, but they've been. I spread my questions around, you know, so I'm not peppering one person over and over, but everybody's been, everybody's been solid. So,
is there anything else? Like I said, because if you have anything, tell me. I mean, because I'm open to the input now. I've said this before when we've talked in the past, Aaron. You know, there may be a reason, and I hopefully will explain it. You may not like the explanation, but I'll at least explain why it's X, Y, or Z. Like I said, anything else? I don't take it personal. I look at this as a straight up business evaluation and it's customer input.
on a podcast.
And I can tell you too that I know that we suck in that general area, because I got a text from a member that's passed the probation, that's full member the other day, that said, "Hey, can I go on grass fires?" Oh my God. So my response is, yes, don't get killed. And then I left it at that. You know, and we all look at it as, and it's our fault because we look at these things like, yeah, everybody knows that. Well, it turns out not everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's definitely the myopic view of it, right, man?
Right. Well, you know, and the last thing I'd probably add to this is don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I mean, particularly something like that. I mean, on our end, that's a pretty absurd question, but then you really dig down into it and you look into it and you're like, how long have you been sitting on that question? Like, why are you not asking that question really early? And to me, that's the more troubling part. And to even go further down it, it's like, well, Jesus, how much of this good old boy system, dinosaur system, do we still have in place? Well, that's when you truly evaluate it, and then you realize, like, oh, there's the root cause. So,
Yeah.
now,
I think, you know, what would be another cool thing is that I've been, I guess you could say, lucky enough to have experienced much of this in the past. If I put myself in the position of I haven't experienced this in the past, I think what would be super cool, I know we got rookie school, but what would be super beneficial or super cool is, hey, like once a quarter or twice a year or whatever, take 4 hours on a Saturday and 4 hours on a Sunday and literally take your new, you know, us new guys or new people, right? Especially the folks that have never done this type of work before, and literally go through the soup
An
to
actual
nuts
orientation.
An orientation. Yep. Like, this is the station. This is how you don all your bunker gear. I mean, I've done it before, but I'm having to tell her, hey, this is how you do it. This is how this is the order. This is the trucks. This is the orientation. This is how you turn on lights. This is how you turn on a siren. This is radio etiquette. This is what you don't do, right? I mean, I had to tell her, we went to that house fire. I was like, don't walk past that certain point, right? And that's just me, proby to proby. But, you know, I'd been there before. And she, okay. And so she literally stayed in this kind of, you know, closer to the apparatus. And, but, you know, that kind of stuff's important, right? You know, you don't want to be downwind from the smoke. You don't want, like, there's a handful of things that if you're brand new, if you've never been on a fire scene before, you don't know the dance that's taking place here.
And it goes even, and with all that diversity, and I'll just interject this. So, not all tour guides are created equal, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, the fact that myself or Matt could grab you by the flipper and say, come on, we're going into this burning building and it's your first day, we can probably get by with that. Like, we have enough knowledge and experience and skill that we can probably slide by with that, and we're not going to get you in a bad way. But there's a lot of people that you wouldn't want to find yourself in that situation with, and you don't know that coming in, because everybody, I always say that everybody looks like a fireman because they all have the suit on, right? And you all look the part, but you're not all players are equal. So
yeah, well, and particularly in volunteer firefighting,
right.
we've made this joke that you see the wise old gray-haired man, so you'd naturally navigate to them for wisdom. Not in volunteer firefighting. That guy may not know a damn thing. It may be the 20-year-old kid that's actually the knowledgeable, experienced one. So, and it has a tendency to ruffle feathers, particularly with the current membership, but also theoretically sometimes with the new membership, where you're like, hey, pump the brakes a little bit, like just pull back. I realize that it sucks, but we need you to be on the leash right now. And vice versa, the new members that just got cleared for everything. It's like, no. You're still eating cat turds in the sandbox. Like, we're not allowing you to be around anyone right now. Quite frankly, all the eyes on the fire scene are on you. So yeah, it puts everyone kind of in a weird juxtaposed system. Or boy, I screwed that up. But it's bad, and ultimately it's about safety. Because I'm sure as hell not going to have you in the line of fire with theoretically a guy that's been on the department 7 months and says, hey, I'm good to go. It's like, no, pipe down, retard. You're not good to go.
We need color-coded helmets just to identify.
Well, and that's why there's the
red,
yellow
yellow,
and
green.
black helmets. Yeah, no, there is a
Oh,
color
so there
code.
is. See, I didn't even know. Put that on your list. Didn't even know that
Yeah,
existed.
no, that's why all the new members have yellow helmets.
Okay.
So we can help keep an eye on them. Yeah, don't get me wrong, like I said, and it's all constructive criticism to me. This is nothing. It's
Fresh
not,
eyes.
It's not personal.
Well, and
It's
I'd call it
literally
feedback,
business.
not criticism. This is constructive feedback. I think criticism, right, has got a kind of a negative connotation.
No. Well, even if it is criticism, how do you make your organization better if you're not listening? You need to be able to be the adult enough to be able to take criticism and realize either is there something to it, or at least be able to explain away the criticism. So what's your justifications?
We need more hugs.
Jesse, you're up.
Well, we are very long in the tooth on this one.
Right. Yeah,
And,
we'll
We
maybe-
might actually break this into 2 parts and get a couple weeks out of this. And so just be aware that may be a thing.
Possibly. So, Aaron, Kim, concerns, comments, issues, litigation, consultations.
Oh, thanks for having us on the little podcast here and having us on the department.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I appreciate
Awesome.
it. Hope it was
Jesse?
helpful.
You have anything?
No.
All right, I'm going to go through the old podcast notes real quick. You can always reach out to us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail. You can find us at Twitter at ITLBcast. You can find us at Reddit at ITLBcast. And if you're feeling real suspicious and likable, give us a lick on Patreon on It Tastes Like Burning.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Good evening.